We have all been here. The clock is ticking, the test paper is sitting right in front of you, and that one crucial formula you studied for hours last night is completely gone. This usually isn't a sign of a weak brain. It is the natural result of a passive study system. When we simply read text over and over, our brain treats the information as clutter and eventually flushes it out to make room for new experiences. To stop that cycle, we are going to build a customized, memory-optimized workflow right now, step by step. To follow along, you will need your course syllabus, a simple timer, a few sheets of blank paper, and a calendar. Let's get to work. Your first step is to reduce the volume of material you are trying to memorize. Attempting to digest an entire textbook from start to finish leads to mental fatigue, which shuts down your ability to retain anything at all. Instead, use the Pareto principle. This rule states 20% of inputs drive 80% of results. Analyze your syllabus. Identify the high-yield topics, the core 20%, that appear on exams. This becomes your priority list. The rest is deprioritized. Success on an exam comes from the precision of mastering these high-value topics, not from the sheer number of pages you have skimmed. Now that you have your list, you need the right environment. Find a quiet, distraction-free space to work in the early morning. The morning offers a specific biological advantage. After a night of sleep, your concentration is at its highest point, and your brain is free from the decision fatigue that accumulates throughout the day. This early morning window is a staple in high-performance routines, used by leaders like Prime Minister Narendra Modi to capitalize on the brain's natural receptivity. Once you sit down, do not check your phone. Spend 60 seconds performing a deep breathing exercise to settle your heart rate and completely sharpen your focus. This level of intentionality creates a quiet mental state. By treating the session with the focus of a meditation, you create the environment necessary for your brain to actually engage with the material, rather than just looking at it. Step 3 is the execution. Take out your timer and set it for exactly 25 minutes. This is the Pomodoro technique. It prevents the brain-draining effect of unstructured marathon study sessions by breaking your work into manageable, high-intensity sprints. Pick one topic from your 80-20 list. Your goal is to understand the why behind the concept, rather than just memorizing the words on the page. To do this, pick up your blank paper and draw the concept. Map out how the parts interact, like this diagram of rain and clouds. When the timer rings, stop immediately. You must take a 5-minute break to let your leg re-energize. The act of drawing forces you to mentally translate the information into your own logic, while the strict break prevents the mental exhaustion that usually leads to forgetting everything by the next morning. Reading and drawing are only the first phases. Now we have to strengthen that connection so it lasts. Take the diagram you just drew and explain the topic out loud. You can teach it to a friend, a family member, or even describe it to an empty room. Verbalization forces your brain to organize the data into a coherent narrative. If you find yourself struggling to explain a specific part, you have just identified exactly where your understanding is weak. Finally, you must combat the brain's natural tendency to forget over time. This calendar shows spaced repetition, revisiting the topic on day 1, day 3, and day 7. Open your own calendar right now. Mark the dates for your next 3 reviews of the topic you just studied. Teaching the concept helps secure your understanding today, while a scheduled calendar serves as your primary defense against that information fading before your exam. You now have the tangible assets of a professional student: a prioritized syllabus, a focused study rhythm, visual notes, and a repetition schedule. The system works, but you have to provide the effort. Remember the sacrifices your parents make every day, the hard work and long hours they put in to give you the chance to succeed. Do not waste that effort by waiting for tomorrow or a better time. Laziness is the only thing standing between you and your goals. Trust the system. Set your alarm for the morning and start your work in silence. Let your results be the thing that speaks for you. You spend hours reading the same chapter, only to wake up the next morning and realize the information has completely vanished. This rapid forgetting isn't a sign that your brain is weak. It is the predictable failure of a study system that relies on passive intake rather than active retention. Continuing to pour energy into these flawed methods is an exercise in futility. To survive academically, you have to stop working harder and start rebuilding the mechanism of how you learn. The Academic Mastery Plan provides that new mechanism. It is a structured protocol designed to reduce total study time while doubling the amount of data you actually remember. To begin, gather these 4 physical tools: your course syllabus, a notebook, a digital timer, and a paper calendar. These tools only work if you have the discipline to use them, a discipline fueled by the years of silent labor and financial sacrifice your parents have invested to put you in this room. Adopting this protocol is how you return that effort. It transforms your study session from a daily chore into an act of familial duty and personal self-respect. Before you open a textbook, open your notebook. Write your core motivation, the reason you are working this hard, at the very top of the page to lock in your focus. Now, we apply the 80-20 rule. This principle helps you filter a massive syllabus by identifying the specific areas where your effort will have the greatest impact. Data across various disciplines shows that a concentrated minority of causes often produces the majority of results. In academics, this suggests roughly 20% of your course topics will yield 80% of your actual marks. Use your highlighter to isolate that high-yield 20% within your own syllabus. Trying to master every page with equal intensity is a strategic error. Mastery requires you to aggressively ignore the low-yield noise so you can dominate the core concepts. Schedule your most difficult topics for the early morning. This is the only window where your brain is biologically primed for peak concentration, and the environment is naturally silent. This morning strategy is mirrored in historical texts and endorsed by leaders like Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who notes that a fresh mind in the early hours acts like a clear sky after rain. During these sessions, use the Pomodoro technique. It is a pacing mechanism that prevents your brain from reaching the point of total exhaustion. Set your timer for 25 minutes of absolute, unbroken focus, followed immediately by a mandatory 5-minute cognitive rest. View this rest period as a biological requirement. It flushes mental fatigue and provides the endurance needed to study effectively for long durations. When you sit down to work, avoid linear reading. Simply scanning lines of text is a passive habit that almost guarantees memory failure under the pressure of an exam. You must use visual comprehension instead. This requires you to translate abstract words into a dynamic, working understanding of how a system functions. Take a concept and physically map it out into a system of connected shapes and nodes in your notebook. If you cannot draw a concept as an interconnected system, you are merely memorizing it. Real understanding only happens when you can visualize the mechanics. To make that understanding permanent, use spaced repetition. This is a scientific schedule designed to intercept your brain's natural forgetting curve. Mark these specific intervals on your calendar. You must review the material in 24 hours, again in 3 days, and a final time at the 7-day mark. The final lock is the teaching target. Take your drawn diagram and verbally explain the logic to a friend, a sibling, or even your mother. The act of teaching forces your brain to bridge its own logic gaps. It reveals exactly what you know and, more importantly, what you don't. Information is only truly yours once you can externalize it and successfully teach it to someone else. You now have a complete arsenal, a triaged syllabus, a timed morning routine, and a scientific calendar for retention. You are the architect of your own intellect. Every study session now follows a deliberate design, turning raw information into a permanent mental structure. Clear your workspace of all digital distractions. Preparing for this level of execution requires your absolute presence. A plan is only as strong as its execution. Work hard in silence and let your results provide the noise.